Yo, yo, yo. What's up, everybody? Good morning. All right. Let's see what we get today. High time frame real quick. Let's get our bearings. Huge overnight move. So we talked about yesterday how we wanted to see this high be targeted. That's the daily high, right? Higher time frame swing point. That was really our objective, but we ended up running into that really overnight here in Asia session. So as soon as we opened up last night, right after trading lower, we accelerate straight for that buy side. You'll notice after we cleared that buy side, we then pretty much just consolidated around the area, right? Most of the morning and during London. And then now that we are heading into the morning session here, we've actually retraced back down into our new week opening gap. So at this point, we've already kind of hit the objective we would aim for. So we're going to have to reassess what we want to do. I wouldn't mind another bullish run here. So we're not trying to call tops. We've obviously been bullish really the past month or so, past few months, honestly. We did close above this on a 4-hour sense, so we do have a 4-hour fair value gap here we're going to pull up. I would like to see that. See how we interact here. 4 hour as we break through an old high, leaving a fair value gap. So I could see us getting into the low of that 4 hour, which would get us deeper into this new week opening gap here. Yeah, the 4 hour. Okay. So let's leave that there for now. The 4 hour low is pretty much this 15 minutes. So we're just going to have this up. This is it. So actually, right, breaker, expansion, new week opening gap. Yeah, I would favor a run higher, even in the short term. So I would look for something like into this inefficiency. Trade lower, look for a bounce up higher. All right, yeah. So let's see what we get at 9:30. So now off the opening price, I would favor, we may run straight towards that, but if we can trade back into first presented here, into new week opening gap, right? Look at all these key levels. So we have a previous day high. We have the first presented fair value gap. We have our 8:30 opening. We have our new week opening gap opening. And now we have that 15-minute here. So yeah, I wouldn't mind going lower first to go higher. That's what we'll look for this morning. What up, Mike? Good morning. Using that 15 though. So let's look for this. I don't mind us going down first, kind of create a Judas swing potentially this morning. So first movement be false. We clear out the liquidity and then we reverse. Almost tempted to just go in right here like this. Just clear up the low. Nah, it's early. We'll wait for confirmation. So remember, we have a first presented fair value gap here. We're also bouncing right off the high of our new week opening gap. So we can reference again. We do have now our opening range gap, right? Pretty large opening range gap. Price will tend to want to retrace into its equilibrium. So now that we do see that, we may actually wait until we venture down here. So I still want to favor, right, I would still aim for some type of long, ideally. But we'll just have to wait for price to deliver lower first for us. Potential first presented fair value gap here. We'll wait and see if that gets formed. Overlapping first presented actually. Short-term high cleared. So maybe we can take it lower first. If we're going to expect lower prices, we want to go lower to go higher. Short-term high has been cleared. We retested liquidity, break below previous day high. First presented. Okay. So far that's fine. As we said, we expect price to go lower first if we're going to run higher. We expect this to be kind of a Judas swing, so we'd want to eventually give us some type of reversal signature. So there's midpoint of that fair value gap. Just watching to see what do we do around midpoint. So potential entry for us would be if we can get back above the 15 here. This is a 15 minute. Let me just double check that. Yep, 15. Is there an hourly there? There is an hourly here as well. Let me kind of transpose that, see what those look like. Hourly with the volume imbalance. Hourly 15, okay. A volume imbalance at the high. So actually, if we can invert this, right, we want to see longs. If we can invert this bearish fair value gap now, so as we clear a low, that's the last premium that's created as we're trading into that level. So now if we can hold the higher time frame discount, invert the original bearish fair value gap, get above and leave right the 15 minute here as well at the same time. I'd like that. We'll give that a chance. Then we'd use probably that low that got created there. Because this is that 1 hour. I've just always done ES1. I tend to forget to change the contracts. So if I'm on ES1, that just doesn't happen, right? Continuous contract. So this is our first presented here. So yeah, I like this a lot. Let's see what we get. Right, if we can invert that, that'll be real nice for us. If we're going to remain bearish, it'll also, I think, be from here. The high of that. I would favor longs, but right, if we start breaking down, we'll understand it. Most likely will be from here. We didn't get into the 1 hour's consequent encroachment, so I would have liked to see that, but we've already kind of retraced a good amount. Maybe we don't need to get into that fully. Trying to see, was there a volume imbalance on this 15 minute as well? Yeah, there was. So I just kind of want to have this little volume imbalance. So we understand that the high of it is the high of this. Okay. Look at how we're getting, yeah. So I like this. Right, we favor longs. If we're going to go bearish, it most likely will be from here. So it won't give us the opportunity. If we invert that, we like that. Yeah, price will tend to revert to the midpoint, right, if it wants to. We're kind of expecting, or we're hoping anyways, that this is a morning where we want to go bullish first. So we can go short-term bullish, even up into these highs, and then retrace maybe lower. But yeah, if we want to get there as our first objective of the morning, this will be the kind of key area in my mind. So important either way. I like the idea. Yeah, if we invert that, we'll give that a test. We'll try that out. Try to get a little seek and destroy in here. That's kind of what we'd be aiming for. Like if I show you a 5 minute real quick, right? Wick high, wick low, we wick lower again. Wick lower again, wick lower again. This is what we're talking about when we say anytime we're running lows, it's all wick. So not really forceful running lows. On the contrary, we actually closed above this high with this candle. So I would, yeah, I like that. Let's try to get an inversion. NQ already pretty aggressive low, but pretty heavy, making me think we may actually want to keep going lower. Just quick look at NQ. It's a little heavier this morning. Short-term high cleared. Actually held pretty nice. Break lower. First presented fair value gap right there. Interesting. So maybe actually SMT right there too. I wouldn't mind that. Confirm some longs for us. So now we've completely repriced into that fair value gap. Notice how we're respecting consequent encroachment and the actual higher time frame volume imbalance. That's what these levels are. I think that We do have the consequent encroachment, so maybe we do. Maybe we want to get into the 1 hour here. I'm not going to take that short, right? We can understand that that would be a potential framework to take it short here, but we're fine missing that if we run lower. Okay, so if we're going to follow this, right, perfect delivery, if we're going to follow order flow itself, repricing into the high there, fair value gap, closing back below with this candle means this fair value gap should be rebalanced. Shouldn't need to retest its high. Next candle, can't get into consequent encroachment. Body then closes back below, so after hitting consequent encroachment, we would expect the low of it to become sensitive. Next candle hits its low, then we see the rejection. So to me, right, that should be bearish. More than likely, I think we run this low out here. Get into the 1 hour's consequent encroachment, and then we'll look for the the run higher. For us to go full bearish and kind of look for a short, I think we would need to break. We'd really need to break the 1 hour here. Right, for the time being, we're kind of just eyeing one side of the marketplace. Sometimes we can be fluid like yesterday, right, up and down. But I think I'd like to just focus on longs this morning. What kind of indicator do you use? It is a paid indicator called ICT all-in-one. And then the other one I use is just a first fair value gaps indicator you can find kind of online. But the main one that, right, has really all of the labels that I'm using on and off, like previous day level, opening range gaps, first percentage, or new day opening gaps. That's the ICT all-in-one indicator. And I'm pretty sure it's a paid indicator by Matt. Ether Matt is his name. I'm not sure how to tell. Yeah. Ether Matt. Okay, so NQ running that low, pretty aggressive running lower. The fact we haven't broke this low yet means either one of two things. Six sister, right, we're just taking time, or if we can invert that, I still would want to see that run higher. So that's kind of what we're waiting for. We're going to wait and see, can we get above this fair value gap, continue to push, and then I would like to get at least like short-term buy side here. If we're able to, right, that should give us, like if we have a new swing low that gets formed in here. Yeah, nice 1 to 2, that high over here if we can get it. These equal highs here kind of have my attention, but for the time being, just holding bearish. Right, we understand this is going to be a key area, as we said, volume imbalance. 1 hour, 15 minute, 1 minute bearish. It's also the first presented. So really keying in on this level here. You're noticing in kind of a short-term sense, what we talk about when we say after hitting liquidity, we'll tend to consolidate. So we get to run into that liquidity. Now we're consolidating near the liquidity. So yeah, I'm basically waiting to see. Let's invert that there. As we said, ES or NQ, excuse me, has already cleared that low and continuing to run lower. Show you some key areas, right? So reaching for its first presented, I would guess here. And then we also have its midpoint of the opening range gap. So if NQ can continue to slide while ES can maintain here and then we invert, I actually really would like that. Notice this new day opening gap we're also getting stuck at, so just patient. We ran out that low, that's fine. As you said, we got midpoint about here. Midpoint's 59.29. 15-minute consequent encroachment, still holding the bodies. So I don't have it there now, but I'm noticing how the bodies are being respected here. Simply waiting to see, do we continue to respect that? At this point, I think 1 hour fair value gap here. This consequent encroachment maybe want to get tapped. But then if we do, yep, we'll still look for the run higher. He says lower. Maybe. We're actually right at the midpoint of this new week opening gap as well. So this would be a very clean area for us to hold. Right, let me go like this. A lot going on, let's not get confused, right? I'm just gonna bring you guys up to the midpoint so it's easier to see. So the new week opening gap is here, this high to this low. Bring up the midpoint, right, we're right at that midpoint right now. So far, still just holding, first presented. Showing signs of respecting the bearish structure, as we said. Now that this is balanced, rebalanced, when this candle closes below, after hitting its high, its midpoint shouldn't even be tested. So if we're gonna run lower, we're not gonna try to retest that midpoint. That's what we're seeing here, right? Candle tries, immediate rejection. Candle tries again, perfect tap of the low. Notice the volume imbalance here, perfect rejection. So as we said, we think we'll probably want to hit the 1 hour fair value gap here. For us, our flip point is this, right? Unless we get above that, we're not trying to go long because price could fall right through this and continue to run for lows and try to catch up to NQ. All right, look at NQ, a lot heavier. So if we're going to be offside on just the original bias, we're not trying to be in too early and anticipate the entry. Potential, let's see if we run that low and soup it, or if we're going to break below. If we start breaking below consequent encroachment, right, because notice at the time we've actually held the 15-minute and the 1 hour. No bodies have yet to close underneath. This one candle closes right underneath both of those, while also closing below these lows. So now to me, I'm going to watch and see, is this wick here going to act as resistance? More importantly, more likely the 1 hour's consequent encroachment. So if we can't even get back up into this, that is a pretty bearish sign. And then we could look for midpoint of the opening range gap, which is right here. And then if we're going to keep going lower, right, we have that. And then this is first presented here. So just having these two levels so we can watch as price starts to sell off. There's the low of the 15-minute. So just watching what kind of reaction we give here at the low of the 15-minute. Right, that's here. As we said, this is opening range gap midpoint. And then first presented here. So just having these kind of levels up to see what we're up to. Quarter level, yeah, quarter level probably. So we leave a bearish fair value gap here. As we said, if we're going to respect this first presented bearish, break lower, break through lows, displacement with a bearish fair value gap aligned with the 1 hour. This becomes my new area of interest here. So we're going to watch and see, right, does this fair value gap want to hold us and then actually take us down into that first or the midpoint of our opening range. With how heavy NQ is, it looks like that might be the case. Dollar's starting to rally a little bit. We close below midpoint of our new week opening gap. So yeah, I think we may actually try to go bearish here in the short term. Let me see if we can't. Like I said, I'd rather stick for long, so I'm not sure if we're even going to push this, but just seeing if it's worth, if we could even get, if we were going to target the low of that 4 hour. We could probably do that actually. We might run just straight for it. If we do, that's cool. So that's the low. New week opening gap low hit perfectly right there. That's where we're getting a quick little rejection. All right, perfect delivery into that. Honestly, yeah, we're just going to wait for the longs, guys. If we don't get it and we keep going lower, that's fine. Right, we could follow it. As we said, we don't need to be involved in every price move. So if we just want to keep going short, we'll narrate what should be respected. And if you want to hop in, that's cool. But I would just like trying to get some type of little buy side here. So my main objective would be looking for inversions, right? I want to see the bearish PD arrays be invalidated. All one-sided delivery this morning, really, off the opening bell. Right, 9:30 opens here. Immediate lower, slight retracement, another one lower. So I wouldn't mind trying to set up a little sell model. Go lower to go higher. Revisit our midpoint of the morning. And then retrace. That's probably what we'll do at this point. I'll let the first half hour play out. I mean, if something happens before that, if we get like a 950 setup, we'll take that. Because 950 to 1010 might offer us something. Like if we displace above this, invert that, we then use that with the new swing low. I think that'll be our objective. Because then we could just get back into that 930 opening. That'll be low-hanging fruit. Higher time frame, 15 minute. Let's go to an... Oh, that's bearish. 1 hour. That's bearish as well. We said just hold it for all time. Yeah, no way. I mean, you can if you'd like, but that's more of a swing trade. I'm not really a swing trader. Quick, precise, surgical. There's midpoint. First presented, as we mentioned right there. Can't even get back into the actual midpoint. So that, yeah, that's pretty bearish. We've closed below the 15. We've hit the low of the hourly. Okay, so closing below that, we may actually have to flip now, our buys, if we're gonna try to catch something here. We'll wait for time. Because yeah, I just favor long. Sorry, that's what I'm eyeing up. Let's see if we can't hold. If we can hold the 4 hour low or the 1 hour low. 10 minutes, cool. So yeah, let's let this 1 hour, we're gonna let the 1 hour candlestick close. I wanna see what this 1 hour candlestick does. Because if we do close below this fair value gap, this low here may be what we're gonna end up targeting. So just need to give it some more time. 15 minute, 5 minute. All down close candles with speed. Okay. Yeah, let's see if we can't get a bounce. Quick little boop. This might be a potential OB right here. So things I look for to kind of confirm that. I immediately notice that this candle doesn't have any wick to the top upside. So as soon as it opens, it's immediately lower. It runs out a short-term low. It returns into a higher time frame area of interest. So now if we close above this candlestick here with some type of fair value gap, I'll actually just take that, because then that's kind of what we would expect to see. So we break through the high. Now I want to see if we close above it and leave some type of fair value gap aligned with it. That'll be our entry point. This will also be nice because now we're retesting here. So as we said, this in my mind is where we would hold if we're going to go bearish. So let's not get too lost. Let's move. We don't really need the 15. I'm relying more on the hourly. We understand it's midpoints there, so we can kind of bring it back. We've hit the low of that. We've hit midpoint of our opening range. Okay, so let's flip here now. I mean, as we said, if that ends up being open, we're going to anticipate that that stays open. So that means that we should probably take it as well, because it's showing exactly what I would expect to see for a bullish reversal. Coming off of that midpoint and the low. That's pretty clean, especially if we closed above that. Back into the 930 fair value gap. That'll be our objective here. Okay. I like that. We may miss it. We'll go low hanging fruit. We won't be greedy. Ooh, that's going to have an ugly close though, actually. I don't like that close. I do not like that close. Because it's a 5 minute. We're going to wait. If I miss it, that's okay. We have an opposing premium here in this form of this 5 minute, and I just want to make sure we get above that. So we have 2 minutes. So we'll wait 2 minutes. Because then, if anything, if we can hold this as an actual fair value gap, that should be good for a possible area of re-entry as well. And then we would go, because that's the inversion low almost. Volume imbalance. I wouldn't want to see us get marked down here. I'd go right here. The target. So we may miss that. We're gonna leave this here, but we may just run from that wick, especially if we close above it. Let's see. I want to see a slight retracement. Maybe if we can hit that first percentage fair value gap and then retrace, I wouldn't mind that. That's kind of what we'll wait and see. So we're gonna look for, yeah, and then we'll target the highest high. Best case scenario. What if we went here with our stop? Would that be aggressive? First presented here, so now we gotta see retracement. If not, we'll probably just run. We're gonna go low hanging fruit entry, just use the high of that fair value gap. So yeah, we want rejection from here. Because then either way, right, if we're gonna be offsides, as we return into the first presented and reject, we should fall right through this. Like if we're gonna run out lows. So it'll be a scenario where we're wrong or right quickly. That's really all we ever want. Okay, so we're in, as we said. Now that we've hit first presented, if we're going to be offsides, it should fall right through this and kind of break a low. So just watching basically how we react at that fair value gap now. Stop loss is under the volume imbalance that's right here. Okay, so now we have a large bearish fair value gap. We would need to basically invert that. We may just hold and kind of run our stop out immediately, but if we're going to be on sides, yeah, we need to see that be basically inverted, get back above this new day opening gap, and then we'll try to retest and see what we get. If we fall right through, that's fine. We'll reassess, look for maybe one more trade this morning. Let's move that for now. NQ also aiming for its low again. Did we NQ get into its first? NQ got above its first presented, so a little bit outside the lines on NQ. Same idea. So revisiting the bearish fair value gap. Now we'll see if we want to get above it or not. If we can accelerate above, that'll be nice. I said you could hold for London highs. You got to get above the fair value gap first. Could easily just get rejected from here. If we can invert that, we should be all right, but can easily hold from here. Boom, break right through these lows, stop us out. And that would not be surprising. We'll take a partial at first presented if we can get there. So far though, bearish fair value gap holding. I don't like that because it's also the 1 hour. That's what I'm looking at. What I'm watching as we trade back up into this 1 hour's consequent encroachment. We're able to close above it, but we immediately open with the bearish volume balance back below, inside of this original bearish fair value gap. So now we're running into a higher time frame area of resistance here. Especially with that bearish volume balance. I'm not a fan of that, because now more than likely in my mind, if we're going to hold that, we're going to want to attack a low again. And then as we said, for us, our stop is below new week opening gap low, and it's below this volume imbalance. And it's right on basically the midpoint of the opening range gap. We've already traded it, so I'd like for that to be it. But if we're going to retest that again, we'll be stopped at that point. So far, again, slight consolidation, as we say. We're stuck inside of this bearish fair value gap paired with the higher time frame. So if we can get above those areas, that'll be clean. And we should be able to accelerate and run higher. My TP is at this high here, high of basically the 930 swing. Yeah, see that's not good. I don't think this is, so already we're spending too much time here. Okay, the fact that we're spending that much time, right, the longer we spend here, the less likely we are to accelerate. Because in my mind, we're engineering, right, sell side here. Trend line liquidity, phantom trend line, right? We don't trade retail, but as we spend more time here, we're engineering more liquidity, baiting people to try to take that long so we could fall right through that. So for us, right, to feel comfortable, I'd rather see a quick expansive move to clear highs and leave the range, especially if we can get back above the 1 hour fair value gap with a closure. And like we said, get above the first presented, we should be all in the clear. And then we'll feel real comfortable in this. Hard rejection at midpoint. So I'm just watching midpoint now of this fair value gap. Here's our first retracement into midpoint. After hitting midpoint, we tend to get aggressive reactions. So I'm seeing if we're going to break lower here, or if we can maintain that and go higher. Okay, so just kind of like we said, right off midpoint, we get that sharp rejection lower. At this point, I think we get this low. Just like we're saying, spending so much time here. Oh, excuse me. For me, I found if I'm in a trade more than 10 minutes, it tends to not be good. But the longer, usually the best trades for me will be in and out. Price should run aggressively from our entry points. So we're just retesting this here. Consolidating market, we can get that more than once. We'll see if we want to can hold that, right? Like I said, this is that OB, so we're gonna form that. We should be able to hold that if we're bullish. That's really what we're relying on at this point. If we get below that, we'll reassess and look for something different. I use Tradeovate. And I'm 28. Tradeovate to 28. Good little rhyme right there. Ooh, okay. So I think stop coming here. This volume balance will be our last line of defense, pretty much. We'll see what we get. Bearish volume balance, so yeah, we get stopped, right? Volume balance opens. We hit our stop loss to the tick, so this will be off. We get below that lower out. Yep, we hit it. Okay. So just choppy in there. I just said we hold that first presented again. So we just give a retracement back up into first presented. We end up falling through this bullish fair value gap. Now we'll reassess and see. If we can leave this 1 hour, maybe we can start looking for, right, a venture lower. Because now basically we've repriced up into the high of the 1 hour, and now we're going to break below it. If that's the case, that is actually more of a bearish continuation, and we can look for those to continue running. Yeah, especially because we have a swing low there now. Okay. So feel a little bit more comfortable if we close below this, flipping for the time being. Let's go to just see what we have here right on the left. We have a 15-minute down here. Just want to go real higher time frame. I think this is okay, that's a 4 hour. So we should hit the 4 hour rather easily. If we're going to do that, as we said, the 1 hour closes below. We should get midpoint of that 4 hour, which is a swing point. Okay, I like that. Da, 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 da. So now we can go. Yeah, let's see how we get in this 1 hour, right? Basically want to see, are we going to leave a fair value gap here now, right, as we kind of leave the 1 hour? First presented held nicely. Looks like we'll just want to be heavy. So if we take a look, right, originally 1 hour holds its consequent encroachment. So it holds that bullishness. So this is why we're okay trying to go long. Now we'll notice the 1 hour is pressing lower. So more than likely we'll see if a 1 hour closes below. No closure yet. Lower time frames are starting to flip though, right? Kind of like, as we said, we're tracing into the first presented, breaking lower. Same idea here, leaving that. So for us, my next target would be low. If we're gonna kind of try to fill this all the way in, right, the opening range gap, if we're gonna make all that up, the low would make sense. And it looks like we are gonna wanna do that, right? Run aggressively. Did we fall through? Yep, fell right through. So now I think we're just gonna sell off. As we said, we're gonna aim for low first. Few objectives, low here, and then we have a previous day low here. So we'll watch how we interact here. At this point, retracement entry, right? We don't want to chase. We do have a volume imbalance. In my mind, we we should be good from this range. If we want to hold, there's a 15-minute volume. Okay, I'd watch. This is a first presented fair value gap right here. That's where my attention is at. 2 minute, 1 minute, small. Okay, yeah. So pretty much this fair value gap here is where my attention would go. As we leave, right, so we create the original low, we break higher, we're trying to enter here. Instead, we hold first presented, and now we break through that low, leaving a fair value gap. So that's right, there's a mitigation block. If we're going to continue to run lower, that's also the high of the, what's that, the 1 hour? 4 hour. Yeah, that's clean. Okay. So the 4 hour high is going to be near the actual 1 minute bearish fair value gap. So we can use the 4 hour high as an area of resistance as well as we trade up into the bearish fair value gap, and it's paired with our 15-minute low. Cool. We've already closed below this consequent encroachment though, so for the time being, right, if we're going to maintain extreme bearishness, most recent premium is what's going to hold. Especially because, as we say, we've actually closed below the consequent encroachment of this 4 hour here. Now, of course, that is, right, we have to wait for the 4 hour to close to get better confirmation, but we could still use it for lower time frames. So there's the fair value gap, just seeing what kind of rejection we get. We've hit consequent encroachment perfectly. As we mentioned, if we're going to kind of maintain extreme bearishness, this is all that we'll have to return into, really. If we do want to offer a deeper retracement, we can allow it up to here and still fall out of bed. But in the short term, I think this can offer us a good area to hold. Get us into the 4 hour low. This would be one I'm less likely to chart. Like, say we inverted that, I wouldn't necessarily trust that as much to chart along. Just because we do have, right, these higher time frame areas up here, 15-minute, and then the 1 minute that could still hold bearish. So simply following the order flow at this time. Perfect delivery into its consequent encroachment. If price is real heavy, it won't even attempt to refill that upper half. So just watching to see now, are we going to attack this candle's low, this swing low, and try to venture into the low of the 4 hour here? If we do, as we said, that's just bearish, that's heavy. So then we'll expect low of the opening range gap, especially if the same thing, if we leave the 4 hour closing with now a premium, right? Kind of the same way that we left the 15-minute here. If we break below that aggressively, leaving some type of premium behind, we can expect that to continue to run lower. So far we just ran out that low. Why ES? I've just always traded ES. I did NQ when I first started, but for me, ES moves a little bit more precise, allows for tighter stops. This lets me be, as I said, more precise and surgical with it. I always have NQ pulled up though, right? I use it for SMT and I'm always looking at it, so we're familiar with that, but I just prefer ES. Right, I did primarily NQ because I felt like it moved more, so that would be better to catch bigger moves. But now that I've been doing this for so long, I find it's easier to find more precise moves that are repeatable rather than catch like the larger moves. So retesting, interested here now what we want to do. See if we get into the high of it. As we say, if we're going to be extremely bearish, midpoint is all we want to visit. So now that we hit the low, we may get that break lower. If we invert that, we could get a short-term run up into the 15-minute that we had here. Or the 1 hour, excuse me. So running out the short-term high, still just wicking, right? Not worried about the wicks, the bodies tell the story. So we got to wait for the candle bodies to close.
Order filled.
So we do hold there. Just wanted to see how that, if we leave the 4 hour, as we said, we could come up into here. Wouldn't be surprised to see that at all. We did invert that, so now we can watch and see, right? Does this become a short-term inversion that can propel us up into just these higher premiums? So we have that bearish fair value gap here. As we said, this is kind of the key area for me, that flip point as well. The old low broken through with displacement, leaving behind a fair value gap in its wake. As we leave a higher time frame, right, fair value gap, that's going to be a pretty key area. So if we do invert that, then I'd be a little bit more confident trying to now catch longs back up into maybe first presented up here. How long have I been trading ICT? About, we said what, 6 years about? 2018. I found them late 2018. Didn't really get into them heavy until, we'll say, 2019. So we can, closer to 6 years, I guess, full time. And then I live stream most days. I'll say 4 times a week usually, 4 or 5 times. Just kind of depends on the schedule. Usually if there's some type of like terrible high impact news, I'll avoid that. But for the most part, we're here. Even if we're not trading, just kind of walking through price, helping people understand. Very random, right? How random is price? Psych, not random, we know. This is tempting right here, actually. We may try one more little quick long. As we said, this, in my mind, lower probability, just because we've already shown bearishness. Oh yeah, look, that's aggressive. Okay, so we're fine staying out of that, to be honest. We do have a little volume bounce here, but as we said, our real flip point would be up here. Not trying to go long again until we get up here. For the time being, if we want to maintain bearish, we will look to invert. So if we invert the actual bullish, we did. Okay, so look, we end up inverting this bullish fair value gap, and we actually reclaim the bearish here. So maybe that is what ends up holding us to take us shorter or to take us lower. If we're going to close in, let's say that we want to close in the opening range gap completely. Let's see if we want to give a retracement. Close back below the 4 hour again. So now we've hit, let's go to a 5 minute. Yeah, 5 minutes hit that. We trade lower. Okay, so yeah, well, we do leave the fair value gap here as well. Bearish, overtaking the bullish, reclaiming. So yeah, to me, that seems more bearish actually. We might try one more entry here, a little short to end the morning. There's a 4 hour low. Let's see if we leave that low, if we're gonna give a quick bounce. As we mentioned, remember we have opening range gap low here. So if we end up leaving this 4 hour low, I think we would want to venture into just the low of the actual opening range. For the time being, I'm watching to see how we close below this range. So do we get a true close below it, or is it just a wick? Because if it's a wick, still a chance that we reject aggressively from this 4 hour and can get back above. So then at that point, we'll look for a, yeah, basically to invert all these key areas here. Right, notice the original bearish with a bullish and a bearish in the same place. So we do actually just wick that. Just want to see if we're gonna make it another attempt lower, or if this kind of range holds us and we get a slight retracement into the bearish fair value gap that's right here. Where TP? No TP yet. I mean, if I was going to go short off that fair value gap, I'd aim for the low of the opening range. Low hanging fruit would be an easy objective. I just want to see how we react though with the low of the actual 4 hour. If we end up missing it, we'll be fine with that. As we said, don't need to catch every move. We could follow price itself. If we can close below this low, that should be a good continuation indicator to continue lower. Right, notice how quick snap. Yeah, so far just respecting that liquidity. Wouldn't be surprised at all to see just a quick retracement even into the 4 hour here. Right, we have that bearish fair value gap that's aligned with the 4 hours consequent encroachment. So even just a short term tap of that would make sense. Retesting the low, seeing if we actually leave at this time, as we said, or if it's just a wick. Just a wick. Wow. Yep. So at this point, kind of just playing around here, right? Consolidating around that 4 hour low. This sell side too. Aggressive with the volume balance. So let's see if we do want to try to get to that 4 hour here, or the 1 minute paired with the 4 hour consequent encroachment, maybe invert that. If we do invert that, I wouldn't mind trying to actually still take that long. As we said, we're following the shorts. We see where we're going to break from. We're just kind of trying to filter out one side. So if we don't get longs, that's fine. We just keep breaking lower. Another attempt now. So still just watching this original liquidity and the 4 hour low as we keep trying to get down into that. We keep rejecting it. Right, each time we go lower, it's a heavy wick followed by a sharp rejection. To me, indicating that we probably want to at least test the fair value gap here. We'll see if we want to push up and through it, or what we do once we get into that. Once again, trying to get lower. Notice how the first movement of every candlestick since we cleared this has been to go lower, but yeah, it's failing every time. So showing really an unwillingness to actually remain bearish. As I said, closure below this low I think would set into motion lower prices, especially seeing as how we're reacting here now. So we may just be engineering all of this as we trade up into that bearish fair value gap. So let's see what happens as we hit that for the first time.
Order filled.
So as we said, if we reject it, most likely will be from here. Which means we can go ahead and look. Nice. Lot of wick. Let's go 5 wick, 15. So higher time frames, same thing, all wick. The 4 hour is going to be the most important, but we still have so long for it to close, so it's kind of hard to use that for the time being. Because we could see something like this, right, where it looks very bearish right now. This candle can completely negate this whole downward movement, end up wicking and still holding the 4 hour. Which, if that's the case, that's kind of why we're looking for a short-term run higher. Trying to invert this, which then we could use. Because now, especially, yeah, let's wait till 10:30. If 10:30 can come and we hold that low, that may be low of the morning session, and then we can get the run higher. Da 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 da. So want to see the close, right? Close is important. Closed above. Wow. So, did we almost go in right away? On its midpoint. An aggressive entry to target 1 to 2 would get us 1. Let's see if we can't leave. I'm trying to wait. If we can leave a fair value gap right here, we're going to enter on that. So we may end up inverting this and just running. But I'm going to try to wait for the creation of a fair value gap, which then we could use that and try to run from there. Yeah, we are. Cool. All right. So I'm fine doing that. So let's see if we can't get a tap of there. 4 hour holds us. We respect that. There's the high. So if we're gonna get stuck in here, we hit the high, the 4 hour, retrace, get stuck. I like the idea of trying to use that now to run. This will be the morning session low, so we can come back up into, we'd want to invert this. As we said, we could still hold from here if we're going to remain bearish. Because that's the 5 minute, yeah. All right, we'll see. I like trying to go higher. So we leave the 4 hour. We may not get that deep retracement actually. Watch this little breaker here. I still want to see if we can't. We're going to use the actual just low of it, but we may run from here. We'll see if we can't get the deeper retracement. Enable the lines. What lines? Oh, you're saying like in the middle. But that looks hideous. I hate that if I'm being honest. I'm guessing you're saying that. No, that's hideous. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I can't do it. Takes up so much space. 5-minute close above. 15-minute closure above. Okay, okay. 1 hour, still got some time, so. As of now, higher time frames are starting to align and close above. See if we maintain that. If we do, we actually may miss this. This may become breakaway. We run. As we said, this becomes a key area, really the low. Oh, and look where we've delivered into perfectly. We go all the way back to first presented if we can get there. Might run straight through that. See how we do at midpoint. We have a 5 minute, so we're going to leave this entry, but we may just run away from here, to be honest. Speed met with speed. We'll see if consequent encroachment of this can't hold us, get us back down a little bit. So we hold that midpoint pretty nice. Retesting the 4 hour, as we said, see if we can't get back into 5 minute potentially. Four-hour high seems to be holding though. We'll stuck right in between these two. Wouldn't mind a quick bounce from this fair value gap into the entry and then run out that high. That's what we'll be aiming for. Yeah, you could use a 2 minute if you like the 2 minutes. If you're saying this here. I'm just looking for more so consolidation kind of delivery, right? So if it's going to be a little bit higher resistance, we'll get a deeper retracement. If we're going to be extremely bullish, we will hold from here and just run. So that would be like the low-hanging entry or the low-hanging fruit entry, but we're fine trying to get a little bit of a deeper retracement potentially. There's entry. Now we'll see what we get. We'd want this to kind of reject quickly, right? If we start spending a lot of time in here, not a good sign. We might just consolidate inside the 4 hour. Or if anything, if we fall right through that, we're just going to be off sides and we'll probably attack this low. So let's see what we get. Bearish for value gap here now, so that will be right. This will be our downfall. If we're gonna get stopped out, we're gonna trade up into this quickly. We're gonna reject it and then trade lower, almost exactly what we got up here. All right, so that's what we're gonna watch. We've traded up into the higher time frame kind of area of interest we spoke about. That becomes new premium. So if we hold that, close below the 4 hour, that's bearish. We'll probably get stopped out. If we can invert that, that'll be the best sign for us, right? Best case scenario is we need to get above that bearish fair value gap, create an inversion, and then especially try to leave the 4 hour fair value gap again. Because at that point, we'll be above the 4 hour and we'll have a 1 minute inversion. But for the time being, looks like it's gonna wanna hold us bearish. Attempting again, wanna see expansive, quick movement. Don't want to see a quick rejection from that midpoint. Want to see price really expand up above that area. I can do this, make it a little easier. Forgot I had those off. So for us, we can probably just partial out. We should go with 5 handles, right? We usually do 5 handles. You can take 1 as we hit that original kind of area of interest. That's more than 5, so that's already an easy partial. If we can get that anyway, see if we can't tap it. Because right, this would be an area that we're going to continue to kind of resist from. If we don't want to get above this fair value gap, we'll smack it multiple times and hold below it. So we've been able to close above the actual bearish, so we are able to invert that, but notice how we're holding exactly at the high of the 4 hour. So we weren't able to close out of the 4 hour again. I want to see price close above that, make an attempt to continue to run, where we would partial out 1 more at that high, and then leave the rest up here. We're getting stuck at the volume imbalance. I was hoping we can get above that, but I think we'll be able to get 1 tick above that. Nope, that's a good entry. Good area to hold. Like I said, I like that same area for me up there. First presented. If we start moving, like if we start running aggressively, I'll move it. But for the time being, that's fine there. Just trying to get 1 partial off. So we were able to get 1 partial off, cool. Yeah, we might reject hard from here. We'll see what we get. I want to see us push up and through. Test this high. We're parceling 1 at midpoint, basically where we rejected from last time. We get partialed out here with a closure above the high. Stop loss will go. This down close candle really should hold us. We could go there now, like that. So far, aggressive rejection. Don't like that. I want to see us hold this little fair value gap that's right here if we're going to do that. If we can't hold that and we fall through that, I think that we're going to revisit these equal lows, right? These are equal lows here. So we'll probably just consolidate in here. We need to start moving. Heading into 1050, so maybe we wait till 1050. Ideally, we do it now, though. off this little fair value gap. So that's not what we wanted to see, right? If we end up falling through, just as we said, probably revisit here. We don't move stop unless we end up getting this partial, because we can kind of bang around in here and get stuck, consolidate pretty ugly, get choppy. Yeah, look at that. That's the old barcode. Sheesh. You also see that's why we're getting stuck right at that first presented as well. Just let it pop up. That's why we ended up partial in there as well, right? Because this is going to be a key area that price is struggling to get above. We got above it once, which is why we're okay trying to enter. But now if we come back down and clear out these lows, we'll probably be stopped out. So we did close below it. For us to feel comfortable, we would need to basically get right back above that and almost start consolidating in here. Retesting, that's fine. We could retest that. That's why stop's below it. Stop is below this down close candle here. That's what I'm using as my stop. All right, I'm seeing that. All right, well, we've cleared the liquidity here. We clear it again here with this candlestick. We accelerate, create a volume imbalance. This down close candle trades into that. And it's the last down close candle before huge expansion. That becomes our area of protection there. So stop loss goes under that. Understanding that we have a short-term low and the 4-hour consequent encroachment, this 1 minute, and now this down close candle OB here. So if price comes below all that, we'll just offsides. Already looking not the best. We have cleared a short-term low, so right in choppy markets, after doing that, we should see basically a rejection and a return to higher prices. If we're going to want to be choppy in here after clearing that short-term liquidity, we should target opposing liquidity. So we'll see if that happens. Morning numbers. Been hard trading the last 2 weeks. Yeah, a lot of consolidation, right? So if you've been having to rely on the just trading within the consolidation. Not easy, not easy. Take some experience. Shooby-doop-doo. So we could probably go 5 handles again. Let's see. Should we? Like we said, after clearing that short-term low and consolidating markets, we're going to return for an opposing liquidity or an inefficiency. So we just got to the inefficiency. We'll see if that's all. I think we can get liquidity, or at least into this again, potentially. For the time being, it does seem like we really are just kind of getting stuck around here. That's okay though. But we expected that. Inside higher time frame, once we trade into higher time frame areas of interest, that's when we run into consolidation. And that's why we're trading in this consolidation now. When the market's like this, you just have to commit to the ideas. Same thing we spoke about the last few weeks. Not getting thrown off. Da 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 da. Biases yesterday's low. Who knows, maybe. You got BD'd. Expected higher prices from the inversion. Yeah, that's valid. Right, nothing wrong with that. And consolidations, be very quick to preserve capital. Right, very quick to be in and out of entries. No need to hold for unnecessary movements. Like for us, that's why we'll partial again at another 5 handles, right? Especially because we're already so choppy. So if we understand that, we're just trying to partial at key areas that make sense. Nice, and it should run, looks like it's about to run right into that partial again. Cool, so we get off another partial. At this point, stop will even tighter. And for us, we'll just be out here at the high. We won't push for much. Once again, getting above the 4 hours, so I'm watching to see, can the 4 hour finally offer us some type of support? We often speak about, right, the next candle's chance. So when we closed above here, next candle actually opened back inside. This one opens above. So if we can go back-to-back candles supporting that idea of wanting to get above, we should be able to run a little bit. Notice how we're getting squeezed right at that fair value gap. As we said, that's where price would really hesitate at. When you come back down all the way into the inversion, there's an immediate rebalance. So yeah, right, just once again, next candle closes right back inside. So just struggling, just ugly, choppy delivery. High resistance liquidity runs here. That's what we expect. We're not shaken, we're not thrown by it. You just got to hold, kind of commit to the ideas. Sometimes it's a little choppier, right, ugly. That's why we just commit. We already have 2 partials off at 5 handles. So now break even trade pretty much. And that's one thing with consolidations, is that stop loss has to be a little bit more lenient. That's one thing we've mentioned a few times, is like normally, say we're trending and we fully expected this to trend, like already my stop would be below this low, because this is the low that cleared this liquidity while we're turning into the higher time frame consequent encroachment, and then we've left a higher time frame discount, right? So in theory, this low should be protected until we run out these highs. But because we are in a consolidating market and price can paint outside the lines, the stop has to stay here, because we could even come back down here again and still hold. So being able to identify those conditions is really important in kind of maintaining that capital and saving your trades. So now, as we said, we will just continue to run down equity. We were aiming for highs, but once price kind of got ugly like this, we're fine just taking what it gives us. So we're going to close another one at that midpoint. And then from there, we'll see if we want to just run. How do you get your mouse like that? Oh, it's like a pack that you download. So it's a custom mouse pack, pretty much. That's how I get like the finger pointer. And then this little mouse pad is the pointer as well. And the scope. I'd tell you the name, but I honestly forgot what it was called. I've had it for so long now. I almost forget it's like not the normal cursor. Do I trade on a personal account? I have an options account. I don't really day trade that. That's just more for long-term stuff. For my day trading like this, I use prop accounts. My funded FX. I was with Apex for a while, but I got the email saying we're on probation, so. RIP Apex, it was a good run. Which I don't even know. I thought I was immediately banned, but I've been looking on Twitter and I think they'll probably unban, I guess, or allow me to get some again. It's more of a probationary period. No, this isn't here. Anything that you guys are actually seeing will always be in a paper trade account. And that's just for my own benefit for you guys as well. So I can say it's not a financial advice, right? We can't get in trouble if it's already determined it's a paper account. How much did you take payout from Apex in total? I took about just over 10,000 in total. So it wasn't even like there was anything crazy. My issue was that I was kind of playing their evaluations, which is why I believe I got that email. And like I said, I was talking about it yesterday, so that's valid. What I would do is I would kind of hedge the evals. So when they had the deals, you just buy a bunch. I'd go half long, half short in one day and just immediately pass, right? And whatever ones I didn't pass, you just get rid of because they were cheap anyway. So if I had to guess, I'm gonna guess that's why I was flagged, which makes sense, but they allowed it, so you got to do it, right? Mission Impossible, I did not. Not gonna lie, I've never seen any of them. I've seen like bits and pieces on TV, of course, but I've never watched a full Mission Impossible. I like his other stuff. I like Top Gun. I feel like I'd like Mission Impossible. It just cracks me up because there's like 18. I'm like, at some point, these missions do seem possible. You know what I'm saying? At some point, you're not convincing me they're impossible anymore. Highly recommend. Bet. Yeah, I'll watch it. I'm done. Best one yet? Damn, so he only gets better as he gets older. Greatness. Yeah, so we're just full. I mean, look at that. Just getting squished. And the beautiful thing about these PD rays is that even in consolidations, we have our areas of reference, right? So we understand how to trade it. And we understand what we're looking for, right? Like if we were to just look at this and we didn't know what we were doing really, like let's hide everything. Like what's going on in here, right? What in the hell? Just gross delivery. But we should be able to get up. Title the indicators again. So as we said, right, this is our key area. Why? It's because it's the original low that gets created. So when we leave this low, we're leaving that range. And that's going to become a key reference point in price. Right, as far as if we actually want to leave now, get above it and accelerate, we're going to have to get back above and inside this range. So I do like that. Okay, body's attempting. We're making attempts. Boom, finally. So we get our third partial. As you said, in a terrible choppy market like this, we're fine. Now at this point, because I don't really want to be in the trade much longer, we're just going to go break even. So there's a very high likelihood we get stopped to break even and price can still run, right? That's on the table. We understand that, but I'm fine getting stopped if that's the case. At this point, we just want to see this volume imbalance here. So I'm not even aiming for the original exit. First presented was our exit here, but like we said, I'm fine just getting out here. Low hanging fruit. If we want to run all the way up here, cool. I'm content with the volume imbalance. Especially because we're going to be, or we do have, wait, 1, 2, 3 partials. Hold up one sec. Ah, yeah, there's no inefficiencies in here. Okay. So I was trying to see on a higher time frame if we could aim higher, but this is the only inefficiency. 15-minute. Wait, do we actually? What time is it? We might actually try to hold this. Closure above that. That's bullish. we're gonna use our stop loss as our take profit because we can't. Oh no. Okay, hold up. There we go. So this is something I do when we don't have any contracts left to partial out, is we use the stop loss. So I want to, if we're going to exit here, but I want to try to hold and kind of squeeze out some more of this run. As we trade into the high of this, my stop loss will go below these lows here. Because at that point, right, if we're going to trade above this area, then that means this will become an inversion. So we shouldn't really come back below it, which means these lows shouldn't be traded below either. So we'll wait and see if that can happen. If not, that's okay. High resistance conditions, man. At this point, though, we want discounts to hold. Okay, so inversion play holds us. Bullish fair value gap holds us. Expansion 4-hour holds us. Expansion. Closure above a high as we close above the high. That becomes a breaker, low, high, lower, low, broken through with the bullish fair value gap in the lower quadrant of the potential inversion. We've closed above its consequent encroachment, so we can use its consequent encroachment as an area of support paired with the fair value gap. So yeah, to me, everything should say that we should hold this fair value gap right here. Like kind of as we talk through it there. Starting here with the short-term low, body's telling the story of being unable to actually close on that, wick through it, or to block. Expansion. Fall short of the 4-hour consequent encroachment, tap 4-hour consequent encroachment, bodies never able to get near it. After clearing the short-term low, as we said, we should attack opposing liquidity, which is here. We did. As we attacked that liquidity, we left behind the discount paired with the old high. As we also close above the 1-minute bearish fair value gap that we said would cause us issues, indicating that price should continue to at least the high of it. Now that we have a discount as well, that should hold us. There's the high. Cool. So far, just textbook delivery now. As we said, that should hit the high. So now if we do get the closure above, no closure above. So I'm not surprised by that, to be honest, especially because it's a volume imbalance. For the time being, stop loss will remain. We're going to go ahead and target. There's a volume imbalance right here. So we'll go for this. I still like first presented up here. I do like that a lot. Oh, look at that high. That high is with it. Okay, so we're going to keep doing this. Yeah. As I said, I'm going to use my stop loss as our partialing mechanic. So since we can't partial there, we'll wait and see if we close above. Once we do close above, we'll go ahead and move the stop. If we don't close above, well, nothing to do really, I guess. We're already committed to it. So if we don't close above, we'll just hold it until we get stopped out. Or until 11:10, to be honest. If we haven't been stopped out or TP'd by 11:10, we'll call it. I like this high. Okay, this high, as we said, let me bring back, there's a new day opening gap that's right here. Just below this high. So if price wants to return up into that, or even if that's just going to act as a draw, this high is short-term buy side. I like the idea of trying to get into that. So that'll be our final exit. Some inter-range liquidity buy side. External range buy side here. Internal range here. Coming off the low. So okay, I like that. 27 seconds, looking for the closure. Closure above, stop loss gets moved. As a matter of fact, stop loss gets moved now because we've already pushed above this wick. So if we close back inside this range, that's not a good sign. Notice once again, we do have a bullish fair value gap here. We wanted to see this one hold us, and it did. Now that we've closed above, consequent encroachment, wouldn't want to see that be revisited. First candlestick to close above the actual bearish fair value gap. Beautiful. Okay, so we should just run. I like what we're doing now. Okay, then let's not do that. Let's go like this. 4 hour, that held. That was a nice run lower. Cool. I'll set up here. If we can close here, we're about to invert the 5 minute, which will be huge. That actually gave me a lot more confidence to hold. So we do, cool. This here is a 5 minute. Right, so I'm looking at this original 1 minute, but notice it was also a 5 minute as we broke that low. So to me, that's the key fair value gap. That's the flip point we were speaking of. We got in early anticipating that it gets traded through. It did, that's nice. Now that we actually did trade through it, we should hold that. So I'm confident here holding this. Stop loss can be below, yep, just a swing low in the lower quadrant up to 5, because if we're gonna give a 5 minute retracement, I wouldn't even wanna see consequent encroachment. Like I'd wanna see the high of this hold us and then accelerate, especially because notice that we have the 5 minute volume imbalance. And because it's 11, so if we're gonna finish this run by the 11:10 macro, I just wanna see the continued bullish delivery in the candlesticks. I'm also watching how when we create wicks like this, okay, so when we reach extremes of PD arrays, we wick above and then close inside of this fair value gap. If we're gonna push above that wick will often become our next area of support. As ICT teaches, wicks are gaps, right, in a fractalized sense. So I'm kind of just watching that to see if we can respect, right, which is pretty much just the high, which is why I want to say I want to just see the high of this 5 minute hold. Because in reality, I'd want the wick to hold its consequent encroachment, which means that the high of the 5 minute itself should hold, which would be nice. So yeah, we'll look for that. We'll look for basically support from here. Another run on highs. Try to get out at the buy side up here. 1 tick below the buy side, to be honest. 2 ticks. We don't need to be perfect. And then that'll be it. Cool. No problem, numbers. Take care, brother. See you tomorrow, if you're here. Do you only trade the New York AM session? Primarily. Sometimes we do afternoon streams. FOMC, we tend to wait till the afternoon. CPI, we tend to wait till the afternoon. I'm trying to think. That's usually about it. Usually if I expect the morning to be ugly. Like if we have Powell talking in the morning, I'll wait till the afternoon. And that's really, yeah, that's it. FOMC, CPI. So we do have a lot of now unprotected lows. Well, what does that mean? Lows that could get ran out here. As we said, I'd want this to be really the lowest low. So we can run out this low, return into the 5 minutes consequent encroachment and still go higher. We allow that. As we said, what time is it? 11. Yeah, if we're getting into 11:10 yet and we haven't got higher or lower, I'll probably just close where we are manually and be content with the morning. So aggressive run lower, let's see, looks like we're gonna want to revisit. As we said, we need to hold here. So pretty much just the 1 minute inside of the 5 minute. Notice how they overlap. Below that, more than likely we get stopped and then we'll just call it a morning. Ooh, that's it. That's about the lowest we can go. quite literally hit the stop. Let's see if we get lower. Lower. It's a 4 hour. In areas of consolidation, higher time frame PD arrays will be referenced more than once, which is why the stop is below that. We could easily hit this and hold. So now that we did, if price gets back above here, stop loss will be the new candle low. If we hold that, I think we'd get stopped out regardless. Ooh, yeah. Okay, so I think we're gonna get stopped here. We were able to get back inside. This candlestick basically would need to respect now this low. So if, like we have here, we've hit the low of that fair value gap, we would need to accelerate, close above it, because notice we also have this bearish PD right now. So bearish fair value gap here is going to act as resistance and may actually send us lower, which means, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to get out. What time is it? 11:05. 6.5 handles. I kind of want to get out of this original liquidity here. I think that's what we're going to do. We hold 11:05. That's all right, actually. We'll let it run if it wants to. So as we said, if we do end up putting this swing low in, stop loss will get moved. I'm already going to move it. So we're cutting risk more. Stop loss in profit, partials taken. If we get stopped in profit, that's a dub overall. We're content. We're going to aim for this high now. This is buy side, but we're just going to aim for this buy side here. One tick below. Okay. When do I trade my personal? I tend to only do like swing trades with that, so higher time frame trades. So I guess it's not necessarily when, it's just whenever setups present themselves, really. Like that's primarily 1 hour and 4 hour trades. Okay, so far as we said, we want to see this hold now. We understand we can retest the 4 hour, but I don't want to be doing all that. Especially because we have this. If we're going to retest the 4 hour, that means we're holding the bearish fair value gap, which to me is just bearish delivery. So we'll probably run out that low and be stopped. Second attempt, stop loss below the low. We'll see. All right, that needs to hold. Stop loss, stop loss. Oh, no stop. Stop loss, there it is. Okay. So we're stopped there. As we said, we could probably hold from here and bounce, to be honest, but we're content with just not even being in there. We'll wait until 11:10 see if we get ripped off now. That'd be funny. But yeah, just deeper retracement than expected. As we said, if we're going to close above the 5, we just want to use that as support and immediately run out this candlestick's high. We can't do that. But yeah, now we're back to kind of entry. So yeah, we'll leave that. We'll do a quick little recap of today's action. So overall, as we said, I wanted to see higher prices originally, like these highs. Really, I was looking at this wick. So we created that wick. We traded up into it a few times, unable to clear the high. I really wanted to see that be the objective of the morning, especially because we were in the higher time frame discounts. Instead, as we said, at 9:30, we start trading lower. We create our first presented fair value gap. We said if we're going to remain bearish, we hold from here. We wanted to see longs, however, so we were hoping that we could invert that. We never do. Instead, we hold that, giving a nice little shorting opportunity into the low of the actual 1 hour. Once we did that, we're still trying to go long. So we notice that we hit that 1 hour low, we clear a short-term low, we give displacement above the down close candle, leaving a fair value gap as we close above a higher time frame consequent encroachment. Right, so that everything that happened there, I'm perfectly fine taking that trade. I'd probably take it 10 times out of 10. Nothing really to focus or talk about there, just offsides. Right, we retrace, price tries to run higher. Instead, we just remain bearish, and then we end up getting stopped out as we trade lower. From there, still had that same idea, right? Just looking for any type of short-term bullish bounce. So it's this pretty much the same idea. We traded into the low of the 4 hour, clearing the short-term low. This one's a little different because we can't even close below that low, so that's what we really like to see. Right, that becomes our short-term low cleared. We then give that displacement. Same thing as here, right? We're closing above a higher time frame, consequent encroachment, while also leaving behind a fair value gap. We also like this one because we had multiple fair value gaps here. Right, so we had this one, we had this one, we had this one, and then we finally formed the bullish. We simply were using the bullish because we understood that all the other ones were kind of, I guess, going to help us out. As price trades down into that, we get long, stop loss below the down close candle. And then as I saw, especially because it's so consolidation and choppy, we just partialed at first this bearish fair value gap. So a few partials, partial as we trade into it, partial again as we trade into it again, another partial as we actually run out the highs, and then we get stopped in profit on the remaining balance. So overall, nice trade, right? Made up for the loser and more. So we take that. Still ugly, but like we said, we kind of expect consolidation. The market has just been choppy for the last few weeks. So we're not expecting the cleanest price action. So if we come in already expecting choppiness, it just gives us a clearer view of what to look for. And right, helps us be more patient throughout the day. Just came across, oh, well, welcome, El Jefe, glad to have you. I stream most mornings. So usually Monday through Friday, the New York session is the primary schedule. Sometimes we'll do afternoon trades or afternoon sessions if there is news in the morning, but usually it's just morning streams. As we said, of course, now price is going to run off that. I'm thinking it's going to be something like we got here, where we clear a quick short-term low, we displace. So I'm just debating if I try to scalp this real quick. Nah. We'll listen to our own advice. We're content with enough. Green on the day overall. Positive day. So going forward, let's kind of clear all this up. Do our typical end of day, what we would expect. So here on a daily, we really are kind of in no man's land, which is why it's tough. On a daily sense, we have reached that daily objective here after holding the daily fair value gap. So once we do that, we kind of expect consolidation. So daily's not much help. We have a small daily fair value gap. So we may actually want to return into that. 4 hour sense, 4 hour has aggressively closed in most of this actual bullish fair value gap. So if we do invert that, to me, we actually are going to run bearish, which means we should be able to get some lows. Okay. So actually, I think my bias right now would be bearish. If we close below, let's go to the hourly. So as we're going through, this jumps out to me. This 1 hour fair value gap here. Closure below this, to me, means that we're going to probably attack this low. And potentially attack this low as well. Wednesday's low. Right, so we could be coming for that daily low, which is also a daily fair value gap. So let's do that. We got the daily fair value gap right there. Short-term low just above that. Yeah, so we have sell side sitting there. We have a first presented fair value gap sitting there. First weekly presented. Okay. So actually, I would like that. I think we go bearish. We've traded lower. We respect that. We break lower. Okay, so yeah, if you're going to be around the rest of the afternoon, I personally would look for shorts into this original low. And then if we can leave the actual opening range gap, then lower prices here. But I think we completed the buy model on both indices on daily. I don't know, right? As we said, these highs are just too clean. Just so clean. And like, granted, right, those are all-time highs. So if we don't want to get all-time highs, it makes sense to reject. But I'm not convinced the top is in yet. As we've been saying, for me, the real kind of flip point on this daily chart is this daily fair value gap here. So we can kind of venture all the way back down into it. Because we have to treat it really as like 1 minute consolidations, right? Consolidating markets can hit those same PD arrays more than once. So we can bounce inside of this multiple times and still run higher, especially because we have such a huge gap in here. So for the time being, I don't think that we're on a macro sense done. I still think we can get up here. And that's kind of what we'll be playing for. But right on the short term, we can get a retracement first. And that's kind of what we're expecting. So a short-term retracement to clear out a low, to return into a daily, and then look for the bounce is what our objective would be. Yeah, I like that. Because we break through that. This is the 1 hour. Trade into the low, we trade into the high, we break through the low. We then left it to attack a low again. Okay. Yeah, so everything to me would actually shout bearish for the short term. So we'll leave that for now. We'll see basically what price does. And when we get here tomorrow, we'll make a new game plan. But, oh, swing trades. What makes you take one? For me, it's just the same, right? So swing trading, like when I'm doing the options trades, it's the same exact process. I'm just using higher time frames. So the most recent one was actually here, right? Wednesday, just the calls. I had objectives that we wanted to run into these highs and just in the buy side. Let me hide this so it's easier to see. Let's go like that, just so it's cool. So for me, like when I'm doing the swing trades, it's still the same process, right? I'm following price just like I would on a 1 minute. I'm just using higher time frames. So on this 1 hour, I saw that, okay, well, price made an aggressive run lower into our daily. We then inverted that 1 hour. Right, we leave that 1 hour with, once again, displacement. So now we left with displacement, leaving behind a new 1 hour fair value gap. I noticed that we failed to get into it once, twice, and then we expand again. So in this case, I'm just using like the most recent discount with down close candles. So it's a lot more rudimentary just because I'm allowing price to kind of move more, right? I'm not, I guess, requiring that precision. But the actual framework is still the same. We trade into a higher time frame discount, we expand, we leave the inversion, we show an unwillingness to return into deeper discounts, which is bullish, we then displace. We hold that displacement, we break through highs, displace again. So for me, that's just a continuation into the high. And I usually could use that with any instrument. NQ is kind of the same way. That's the beauty of these concepts, right? Is that they're fractalized so that once you learn them, you can apply them to really any chart, any instrument, anything that moves on a chart and prints. You could probably find out how to use it, right? How to trade it. All right, if that is all, I think that's all. We will go ahead and call it for the day. So as we say, appreciate y'all hanging out. Thanks for joining. We're slowly growing up that live viewership, so that's cool to see. And yeah, we'll be back tomorrow, same time, no high impact news, or let me just double check that and be sure. But I don't believe we have any high impact news to look forward to. Oh, I lied completely. We have a lot of high impact news. Don't listen to what I said. Wow. Okay, so we have, yeah, high impact news at 8:30, 9:45, and 10 o'clock. So actually, we'll be here tomorrow a little bit later. We'll be here about 9:45 Eastern. So we'll let that high impact news play out, and then we'll get here just before the 10 o'clock high impact news. We won't take any trades until 10, but I kind of want to see what price does leading up to that. We'll wait until 10 o'clock, and then we'll see if we can't get something for the silver bullet to close out the week. Yeah, that'll be the objective. So we'll talk to you guys tomorrow morning about 9:45 Eastern. Appreciate you guys hanging out today. Have a good rest of the day, and we'll talk tomorrow. Take care.